Hello, and welcome back to A Dash of Life. Actually, tonight we got a new show going on, and it is called A Dash of Pop. So I'm going to be talking about pop culture things. You name it, from movies to comics to video games. We're going to try to get all these different shows in there. But I wanted to try a whole brand new show called A Dash of Pop. So tonight we'll be talking about Marvel Comics, DC Comics, everything in between. I got a great guest coming on here in just a few moments. Angel, out on the West Coast in California, he's going to be joining us here, and we're going to get a little perspective of different age ranges, if you will, on the comics and where they stand today as opposed to years ago. And so I'm going to bring him on in just a few minutes, but just wanted to say, hey, everybody's got a little bit of comic nerd in them. We all love our heroes. I mean, it's no doubt about who I enjoy. If you look behind me there, you see all the Superman um, posters and things. So I absolutely love talking about comics. You can find me on the street. You can say one thing about a comic book, and we're going to talk forever, and we're probably going to become best friends. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show tonight. If you have any questions, please bring them on. Ask them. Ask away. If we can't answer them, we'll try to find a way to answer them. So I'm going to try to get Angel on here real quick, and we'll get to talking. I am going to let you know real quick, though, there will be spoilers for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier or Captain America and the Winter Soldier. I like that preferably better, but hey, we'll get to it here in just a minute. So I'm going to try to get him on. As soon as I see him on there, we'll bring him up. Angel, if you're out there, just open it up and we'll get you on. I see that my wife is out there finally watching. So hello, my love. Good to see you on there. You actually get to see it live for once and not on the replay. So thank you. Hello to my sister-in-law Elizabeth as well. There it is. We got him. We're going to get him on here in just. And then we're going to be talking. So if you don't want to know anything about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Captain America and the Winter Soldier, turn it off, and we'll get to it later, or you can come back. Hey, Angel, how you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? I haven't seen you in so long.
It's been a long time. How's it out there
Yeah.
on the West Coast?
Uh, it's great.
Yeah.
I love being home. I don't have to worry about tornadoes, which is fantastic.
Right.
But I kind of miss it. I kind of
Yeah.
miss, seeing everybody on TV telling you to get in your home real quick because you might die. Um,
Absolutely. It's one of the best parts about Oklahoma, I think. No, I kid. But well, I see that you're still in the military. Is that correct?
yeah. I actually I'm with the Guard out at March Air Reserve Base now. And just got informed I'm gonna get promoted to E6. So that's a new adventure.
Congratulations.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
And just trying to influence lives, and treat and train new NCOs the way you guys taught us, and how to be always thinking and always taking care of our troops and stuff. So you kind of don't see it anymore as much, but now with some of us that have been in active duty, we can actually train these guys to teach
Absolutely.
and help. So
Yeah. Well, that's great to hear. Congratulations on E6. That's an awesome accomplishment. Well, besides still in the Air Force, what else are you doing out there?
Well, I still buy and sell comic books all the time. Huge comic book collector. I'm up to 6,500 books now in my own collection.
Right.
Yeah, just doing that, and I love it. I love comic books.
There's nothing wrong with that, my friend.
No.
As why I picked you for this first show. I mean, I was telling him. I said I love. From the time I was 4 years old, and the first movie that I can remember seeing was Superman. I've been a straight comic book guy. Love them, nerd, whatever you want to call me. Love them. I'm got my own collection as well. I'm probably in the 3,000 range now. I'm more on the Superman and GI Joe. Those are my two favorite comics.
Yeah.
But I'll collect anything. My wife, who's watching right now, is probably very excited about the cartoon that is on in the background of you there. That's her favorite cartoon in the whole wide world. So, babe, look,
I'm a mutant fan. I
right.
love the mutants, what they brought, what Stan Lee was able to do with the mutants, how he created it, the idea, the premise behind it all was fantastic.
Absolutely.
And for it to still be around for 60 years has been amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
So that's what I love about the mutants. The mutants they're always evolving, you know, or mutating.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's the same thing with Superman. You know, Superman's always mutating or always evolving and always adapting with the times. And that's the one thing a lot of people miss about comic books is they always see like this one idea around the world, like this is how I'm always going to think. But when you pick up a comic book and you read it, you have the opportunity to sit back, relax, read something, and think about your inner self, and to push your ideas and be like, dang, you know what? Maybe I should start thinking this way, or maybe I should start.
Yeah.
People from calling me for no reason. But yeah, it's that's the one thing I absolutely love about comic books.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was, you know, most of the heroes out there have their separate identity, you know, their alternate identity, but Clark was always Clark. Clark was the alternate identity. He wanted to be human instead of Superman. And I think that was one
Right.
thing that, you know, that really drew me to him as well, was here's a guy who wanted to be human, who wanted to help humanity and live as a human, but he just happened to be super. And I get that, you know, and I think that's, you know, with Lorraine, my wife, that's why she likes X-Men. Just, you know, basically the same thing that you said is just they're ever evolving. They stood for something in a time where people were looked down upon, and
Right.
you could people could relate to them, and that's absolutely. So I mean, we got a lot to talk about tonight, though. Man, what a lot of stuff come out lately, man. We had some great television shows. We've had some great movies. So we'll
Yep.
get to all that. One thing I want to talk about is the generational gap that we've seen. You know, I'm a little bit older than you, so we're seeing a lot of different generational things. I just want to get your perspective on it. I grew up in a time, and you know, in the what they called the silver age of comics. You know, comics were all over the place. Everybody loved, you know, everybody had a comic. And now we're seeing, you know, some different types of comics out there where we're seeing not as good sales, but, you know, they're still doing some things, but it's a different age now. And I know you come from a little bit different age than I do. And I just want to get your perspective on that. What do you think? I mean, what do you think the biggest gap happened? Where did that gap happen? Was it, you know, just was it the 90s when things went away? What?
I don't think things went away. I think what happened was, and I hate to say it, and I say it a lot, and I hate to say it, and I know it pisses off Superman fans all the time, the death of Superman. In the 90s, when they killed off Superman, and they had like 15 different variants for one issue, you know, and then they took those 15 variants, and then they just kept shoving it down our throats for 2 years, you know. You can go in any comic book shop now and find the Death of Superman in a dollar bin, and because it's virtually worth nothing, you know. And yeah, it was the Death of Superman, and then this idea after that of just being able to pump everything out, and it's the same thing with sports cards. The 90s destroyed sports cards all, and that's a whole other thing. But the 90s destroyed literally the entire, and you turned off so many people that loved comic books and they wanted to watch comic books. And yeah, it was really just and that's the saddest part. And like you said, you grew up in the 80s, and you got to see the Silver Age go through, and beautiful books, beautiful stories. I came in with, you know, Death of Superman, late 80s, early 90s. But I think there's one book that came in and it started to push back the comic book industry and help the comic book industry. And it wasn't from Marvel and it wasn't from DC. Um, it's from a small company we all know and love, and Image.
Yeah.
And when
Spawn.
and like Todd McFarlane said, with Jack Kirby signing off and saying, "Hey, you guys are doing awesome, keep going." And Spawn #1 came out, and Spawn #1 after what he did with Spider-Man with Marvel, and he reboosted Spider-Man's golden, Marvel's golden boy was a Spider-Man, and great Spawn, and it was it was a high print run still, but everybody loves Spawn.
Yeah.
Like that's like
Oh,
the
yeah.
anti-hero Superman. Everybody loves Spawn. And that's how I got into comic book collecting with Spawn. I love Spawn. I have almost every issue of Spawn now, and everything that comes out as Image is almost purely gold. Look at The Walking Dead. Look at I don't know if you started watching the show Invincible. Invincible is
Invincible's
awesome.
great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
Image. It's refreshing. I mean, like we talked about, in the 70s and 80s when I grew up, we had the Super Friends and the family shows, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love seeing those cartoons, but I want to see a dark side and grittiness and some different styles to my heroes as well. But yeah, Spawn, you're spot on with that. Spawn, I would definitely say kicked it back into overdrive, and the pioneers that we call them now, McFarlane and Jim Lee and all of them really kicked it back up, and yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that one. Another thing that I again, coming from an age where any superhero and every superhero that was on, I wanted. I didn't care if there was the Marvel title to it, if it was a DC title to it. If it was on, I loved it. And so why do you think there's such a division in the Marvel versus DC world? What is your opinion on the division?
So it all comes back to what we said earlier. Your man behind you, Superman.
Yeah.
DC, like when you look at it, we all got, like, even when we worked together, we always got in that debate. Who can beat who? The Hulk versus Superman, Thor versus Batman, all of that. And it was always that was the fun part of being a kid. You're always trying to figure out, like, who can beat who? Captain America versus Dr. Fate. It was amazing. It was a fun time as a kid doing that. And then now as adults, when you're seeing literally all of your favorite characters being immortalized in movies and TV shows, cartoons like this, I feel like it started to create a divide a little bit, only because now we get into that point of, okay, who has the better TV show animated wise? Well, obviously DC. DC puts the time and effort in that. Who has the better storytelling altogether? Well, Marvel does, because Marvel actually has been doing things 7 years in the making for the Mandarin, for Shang-Chi, or they were taught, the writing was on the wall for Tony Stark, and we already saw it years before we even knew he was going to pass away in Endgame. So everything's, Marvel is very meticulous, and Kevin Feige's very, very secretive about things. And it's not like DC. DC's like, hey guys, we're gonna
let's rush this out. Yeah, let's rush this together. Let's or what was the way we used to say it? We're just gonna throw poop on the wall and figure out which sticks. That's what DC does when it does their live action. But now with the separation of who's better and who's not, it's almost kind of like, which quarterback is better? Tom Brady, Joe Montana. And you're going to have the old guys that are going to tell you straight out, hey, Joe Montana. And then you have these young cats that are like, oh, analytics, blah, 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 blah. It's Tom Brady. 2 different eras. Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's what a separation is. Will you have fans of the shows, or just fans that have never read a book in their life, and they're the ones that are just like, hey, listen, I know everything about Marvel because I've seen everything about Marvel. Okay, yeah, you know everything about the MCU or the DCEU, whatever they call it nowadays. They got like 4 different things they got going on.
And then you have us old timers like you and I, you know, and even like my dad who read comic books when he was a kid. They're like, hey, yeah, what about different Earths? You know, what about different universes? What about this and that and stuff? And we can, I feel like us older generation can kind of appreciate it more. You know,
Yeah,
we're not
agree.
much of the newer generation that's in a constant divide of DC and Marvel. And
Yeah.
I mean, there's always been that argument, who's better, DC and Marvel, but it wasn't as big as it is today.
Well, I think the biggest thing is I mean, you can go back to it is everybody worked other than Stan Lee, obviously. I mean, even Stan Lee did some DC and his what ifs type things, but most of the artists and the writers, they all worked for all the companies. They bounce around, and I think for, you know, like you said, for us old timers, that's one of the things that I liked about it, because that does it. Then to me, that makes it all special.
Right.
At least, again, in Dash's opinion, it's a special thing to see that all these guys have worked, and you know, I understand, and I yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. I mean, you know, it's a generational gap. That's what people are saying, you know, but I I just enjoy it for what it is. I know people out there dislike the Snyder Cut. I loved it. I loved it for what it was. It was again, I waited 47 years of my life to see a Justice League come to
The
life.
Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity.
Yeah,
You wanted to see it. And I wanted to like I really wanted to like the Justice League. I really did. I didn't like the Snyder Cut. I also didn't like Whedon Cut.
Yeah.
I had this argument with somebody at work the other day about the movie, and he was saying, "Oh, well, I like to go into a comic book movie, or I like to go into any movie and just turn my brain off." Yeah, 100%, sure.
Yeah.
I don't want almost any James Bond film. Even when I watch The Godfather nowadays, I still turn my brain off. I'm having fun. I'm loving the movie. It's such a great film, you know. But when you've seen Justice League, and then you've seen the Snyder Cut, and now my wife and kids are trying to come in here and bug me. And my dog. When you've seen those movies, the issue though is when you and I kind of went back and I watched the Justice League, the first one with Whedon, and then I Snyder. I just, with Snyder's films, the slow-mo just kills me. It kills the mood. It kills the atmosphere.
I think that might have been my only argument with the movie. To me, again, was the slow-mo, but
like you're expecting fight scenes, and it's just like, whoa, and I'm like, dude, come on, man, like, just I want to pick up the pace, you know, and that was the thing that killed me. And then there was some scenes I was like, oh, okay, I really didn't care for them. Him saving Iris, I was like,
yeah, the whole hot. I even looked at my wife on the whole hot dog thing, and I'm like, no, I don't need to see a hot dog. Yeah, I agree with that. But again, I see the, you know, but
you're a huge DC fan, so I'm like, you and I are gonna be biased. I'm a Marvel fan. You're gonna be a DC fan. We're gonna be biased about it. But there are parts in these movies and there are parts in these shows and stuff like that we can always agree on. You know, like with Ben Affleck, everyone hated him at first. With the Snyder Cut, I can appreciate Ben Affleck as Batman a hell of a lot more.
I see him as the Dark. I see the Dark Knight Batman in him 100%. The old
100%. Yeah.
Frank Miller, Dark Knight.
Yeah. I didn't like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman when I watched her in the original cut. In this one, I can feel a little bit more. I was like, you know what? She did a pretty good job. I still hurled affirmative that Wonder Woman raped some dude in Wonder Woman 84, but that's a whole other story.
That's a whole nother story. Let's not even. Let's kind of leave that one off the. Dallas.
But no, I mean,
Dallas, worst Batman ever. Get out of here.
And you know, when it comes to Batman, I kind of hate that in the last 20 years we're about to have 3 Batmans again, like we did when we were kids in the 90s. We had 3 Batman in 20 years. But at the same time, I can also argue that, you know what, we're starting to get better Batmans. Because I don't want anybody that's played Batman.
Agreed.
I mean, you've had Keaton, who has always been the Keaton, and Kevin Conroy. And if you don't know who Kevin Conroy is, watch the animated Batman films or shows.
The voice
Kevin
of Batman,
Conroy,
always and forever.
Always with Batman and Bruce Wayne playing them. Then you have, and then you had, the bottom of the cellar, which is Clooney and Val Kilmer. But with Ben Affleck, I was excited about, and now after seeing the trailer for the new Batman film with Rob Pattinson, at first I was like, oh no, Rob Pattinson. But going back and watching some of the new movies he's come out with, I'm really excited to see what he can bring to the table as a young Batman.
Yeah.
And I just, Snyder Cut kind of, it was decent. I'm not gonna say it was trash. Right. It was decent. I get what the darkness they wanted to do, but to me, Superman's not dark. Wonder Woman's not dark. Batman's dark.
We're gonna, I love Cavill as Superman. I think spot on, perfect. Since Chris, God rest his soul, left us, Henry's Superman, and when will always be now to me. But Chris will always be my favorite. But yeah, I see where they're going. The future's bright, I think, for hopefully other movies on down the road. Maybe some people will look at the Snyder Cut and go their routes. At least that's what Dash wants to see in the future. I know we can say we're oversaturated at times, but I love what we're seeing. I love the amount of stuff that we're getting. Probably because, like, I'm a nerd. I can watch superheroes all day long, and I could care less about The Bachelor and things like that. I just doesn't do it for me,
Right.
But I love what the future is holding for us. Disney Plus, what a great opportunity for us to see the Marvel stuff. HBO Max now with probably a way for us to get to see the Warner Brothers stuff, maybe a little bit better. So I like what the future holds. We'll get into some other things here. The one thing I'm probably going to get in trouble from my wife is, excuse me, the WandaVision. I know where they were going with it, just not.
All right, we're done. All right, we're no longer friends. No, we're done.
No, I know where they were going with it. I know what they wanted to do with it. I'm an old House of M, the original House of M, and I think that kind of had to play with it. It did. It was some spin on it. I liked it for what it was. It just wasn't oomph to me. You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I think WandaVision is very, very unique. And it's very unique only because of, like, you're going through her mind. You're going through her mind and her trauma. So you're seeing literally her mind unravel. And you don't really get to see that a lot with a lot of these characters. You see them in like two-hour movies, and then that's it. With WandaVision, it's literally in a matter of a week that she's completely unraveled. She's lost her mind. We always talk about PTSD in the military. This is a spouse's PTSD when they lose their spouse. They weren't married to the person she loves. And that's where I can appreciate that show a hell of a lot more than anything else, is because it gets you thinking, like, hey, if I had that mutant ability or special
ability.
Yeah, special ability that they're creating in the MCU, because we don't have mutants yet. If I have that ability, what happens if I actually do go off the deep end? So you have that little bit of what if in there.
Mm-hmm.
and then you have that like I said, that PTSD of like losing your spouse or losing your kid or whatnot. I mean, anybody can go off the deep end when that happens, you
Absolutely.
know. And so that's what I loved about the show. I love the House of M. Don't get me wrong. And
Right.
I know Elizabeth Olsen, even there's interviews with her talking about, I want to be in the House of M storyline. She loves the House of M story. I think that's what I love about the actors who play in the MCU. You have a lot of these guys will be like, okay, cool, I'm playing Cyclops. Outstanding. I'm going to a comic shop and I'm buying every single book I can that's really intricate on Cyclops to learn that character.
Absolutely.
You know, look
Yeah,
at
I agree.
Chris Evans read almost every Captain America book.
Yeah. Well, and you know, there. I mean, we'll get into that in a second
Yeah.
on that. But I know there's, you know, Chris Evans will always be, you know, Cap. He'll be Steve. He'll be Steve. The, you know, that Cap to me. I was telling the wife the other night, Lorraine. I was like, he embodied everything that Steve Rogers was. You could tell that he actually did the research, found out what Steve Rogers was like, and that is, you know, he'll be Steve Rogers. But I agree with you wholeheartedly on the research that they do, and I love. Don't get me wrong. Olsen is awesome at Wanda. That's, you know, I mean, if I'm going to see Wanda, that's who I'm going to see now. I couldn't picture it anybody else. I guess for me, I think I didn't, and you're right. You know how the way she was coping. I think the comedic value of it kind of set me off at first.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say set me off, but kind of, you know. But I get it. For what it was worth. It was good. I like the obscure characters that we got with it. You know, people you're not going to see every day on the movies or things like that. And I think that's what I appreciate about the MCU more when it comes to their TV shows. The more obscure characters that they can get. You know, Charlie Cox now will always be Daredevil, no matter what. You know, so, and I would love to see him come back. But yeah, I agree.
I
I
mean,
know you can't do a more with Wanda, huh?
spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
he's coming back for Spider-Man.
Yeah, we already know. Yeah. We already know he's coming back.
Yeah.
And him in the red, the day we get to see him in the courtroom again, and with the red tights and the devil horn, magical. It's gonna be magical.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you on that. Like, there are certain actors that, you know, they do the research, like I said, and they embody these characters. And I think that's also where we have that divide with the movies. The mostly is the movies that divide with the movies, is because when you have who have played these characters, like we can talk about, oh, Batman. Okay, cool. Well, let's look who messed up Batman. George Clooney, Val Kilmer's son. You know, and it's like, okay, well, we only needed one Captain America. You know, and so there's that stopping this, yes, with Marvel, because Marvel's been so successful, and it was even before Disney got a hold of it. They were already successful beforehand when they started with Iron Man. When they started with Iron Man, started building and they built. It wasn't until the Guardians of the Galaxy movies when we started getting the Disney logo on there. They already made the first event. You know, they were already successful with it. The problem with the WB, and this comes back to just don't know how to make a superhero movie. No, they really don't. And I think that's where the snobbiness comes, is when Marvel was already building their franchise, the MCU, and then Disney came in and was like, we're buying Marvel. You know, and now Disney can throw all the money they want at it. And the WB's over here like, dude, what are we doing wrong? We've been doing this for 50 years. What the hell are we doing wrong? And it's like, you're not throwing the money at it. You're not the right people for this. You know, and I think with the Snyder Cut, out of all the characters, the Holy Trinity, sure, they got on Gal Gadot. She's decent. I kind of want to see a little bit more muscle on her, because every time you see a Wonder Woman outfit, she's built. Yeah. I don't like Ezra Miller, the kid that plays Cyborg. I can care less. I don't care. He keeps complaining about everything. But it's just kind of like, okay, they didn't really take the time to get a really good story that would have been amazing. I think Darkseid, there was
So much more.
so much potential. I love Darkseid CGI. I thought he literally walked out of the comic book page. I was like, holy crap.
Absolutely.
Or even grandmother standing there off to the side,
Goodness, yeah.
ready to. She's over here yoked, and she looked more yoked than Wonder Woman did.
Yeah.
And that's the problem is just Warner Brothers and the fan base of Warner Brothers. They're just kind of like, we want to be like Marvel so bad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're just like, we're better than you because we've been around longer. And it's like, yeah, sure, around longer, but you suck.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much more that they could do with their movies. I keep telling myself with Flashpoint coming up that they're gonna do it. And they're probably. I don't want to say they're gonna let me down, but I hope that they could do something with Flashpoint, maybe turn it around and see where they made their mistakes. That's a hope again. Dash wants, but we'll see.
It's such a pivotal part of the Flash and Batman storyline. I will not lie. If they don't bring back Jeffrey Dean Morgan to play Thomas and he's electrocuting the living shit out of Ezra Miller, I'm walking out.
I'm walking out of the theater. Yeah.
Because I want to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I kind of want to see him come out with a bat, like Negan, and just hit him upside the head and be like, hey, you're getting electrocuted. I just kind of see it. But if Jeffrey Dean Morgan doesn't come out and we see that dark Batman, dark Batman that doesn't care, shooting and killing people, doesn't that alternate universe. If Bruce had died and not Martha, and Thomas had died and Martha becomes the Joker and he's fighting his wife half the time. Get to see that, I will kind of be very disappointed because the WB has such a great opportunity. They have so many great storylines to go off of, and they always just turn around and say, okay, we'll throw 15 stories at once in a 2-hour movie, and nothing makes sense. Where it was like, hey, we're doing Secret Wars. Okay, Secret Wars lasts 8 issues. How do we fit that into
10 movies?
10 movies.
Yeah.
Or we're doing House of M. How do we do this? Or I mean, it took us how many movies to get to Infinity War?
Yeah. Feige was smart. He built that world, and man. Yeah, you're spot on. I think you're right when it comes to the movies that DC, WB, they're going to be behind, but let's move on to what everybody probably been waiting on, or at least I know and you and I have been waiting on, is last night's finale. Let's just what an awesome, to me, and I've talked to other people, they love the show. I love the intrigue from it. I love you knew it was buddy, even though they didn't even though they still had their little headbutts, they were buddies and they were friends, and you could tell it, and you felt it through the whole entire show. I love that between Sam and Bucky. I felt overall what a great, I gave it 5 stars. I think that's the highest I've given any TV show, superhero wise, in a long time. But man, they set it up right. They played it right. I had one, we'll get into in a second. I had one complaint. The whole Sharon arc, I think it was rushed. I'm okay with what they did.
Yeah.
I'm fine with what they did. I felt it was just rushed and they didn't give us enough. And I'm sure there's more coming on and other shows that'll explain it more. I just felt that they could have done a little bit more with her to give us a little bit more to play off. But overall, what a great show. Sam came out with the outfit that I wanted. I pleaded for it on Facebook the other day, and there they were. It was wonderful. What did you think?
So the greatest part of being an adult is, like they always say, once you're an adult, you get adult money, you can buy all the crazy shit you want. One of the greatest parts about being that is when I picked up that first issue, when they brought the idea of Captain America dropping the shield and becoming old, and he literally gives it to Sam. And in the universe because I've already talked to some of your friends about different universes and different Earths early on Facebook this week. In Universe 616, the universe we all know and love, you know, and he gives it to Sam, and he's old, and he's walking around with the and if you ever get to see the book, it's so funny. There's one variant of the book. It's Cap walking with a crutch, and Deadpool is picking him up, and he's fighting bad guys with a walker, you know, and it says Deadpool and Steve Rogers or / old Steve Rogers, and he's fighting people with a walker. And that's the funniest. But for him to Cap, and I think that's what I love about Marvel is that Marvel, when like Stan said, and so many times, Marvel reflects the world around us today. The world is always changing. Yes, we have our crazy political world we're living in today, and I get it. But that's the one thing that Marvel will always stand with, is that Marvel has to change with the world. And for Cap to drop the shield at the end of Endgame, he's the old man. And forget, a lot of people also forget that the shield that we see in Endgame is not the shield Cap hands off to Sam. Because the shield in Endgame, it's broken, destroyed by Thanos, and then go back to return the shield or anything like that. He still is a shield, or he's older. So no, that shield has a hell of a lot more stories now. So when you got into Falcon and Winter Soldier, you had your first Black Captain America, Isaiah Bradley. He held on to that shield, and he was fighting with that shield during Vietnam and Korea. Now you have your second or your third iteration of Captain America, which goes into John Walker. And then you get it locked back into Cap, the real Cap we all know and love now, which is Sam. You know, he gave him, he was supposed to have it. He knew what Isaiah Bradley dealt with because he dealt with it. He gave it to Isaiah. Isaiah got arrested. He took the shield back because it's not the government's property. It's Cap's. And then he hands it off to Sam. So I think that's one of the greatest things about that show was that it was literally adapting with today's age and time. You know,
I agree.
And one of the greatest parts in that whole show was last night's episode was when he was talking about, listen, we all built this country. You know, I got thousands of people staring at me because I'm wearing the Star Spangled Banners all over me right now, the red, white, and blue, and people are mad because I'm Black. But remember, Black guys, Black people, Asians, Hispanics like myself, we built this country. We all have, you know, and that's what I loved about this season was that if you don't want to open your eyes, then you shouldn't watch the show because you're not adapting with the times. This show adapted with showing you, hey, we all have to be together. We all have to be, because you know what? We've all been through, you and I have been through 9/11. You know, if you were fighting it before I was, and I was sitting in a middle school watching it live on TV, you know, we all have to fight this together. And that's what I loved about the show was that it dealt with the times, it was helping with the times, and was pushing this narrative. If we all don't fight together, we will lose. If we don't take care of each other, America loses or the world loses, you know. And I'm happy, I'm stoked that we're going to get it. I was showing my wife Jasmine earlier last night after we watched the episode. I was going through TikTok, you know, it was funny. And it before, and I started thinking about it, I was like, oh damn, that made sense, but it doesn't make sense. And if you guys haven't watched the show, obviously spoilers, but I don't know if you noticed it on Sam's chest. There was 2 lines.
Yeah, the 2 lines cross.
Right? 2 lines across. But on Cap's chest, there's only 3 lines across.
Right.
Right. Well, a lot of people are kind of like, oh, whatever. Well, the 2 lines across, he chose to only have 2 lines instead of the 3 because you're talking about the lone, what's it called? The lone wingman, the down wingman. So in the Air Force, we've all heard it. We've all seen the air shows. We got the down wingman. One plane will veer off and take off, and you have your 4 left. That's what he did because he knew Cap's no longer there. Steve is no longer out there or on the moon, like they keep
On the
talking about
moon.
in the show.
Yeah.
But and I think that's what I loved about the outfit the most. I hated the neck garter. I felt bad for him
No,
because
I
I
did
know
too.
that's a
The whole
that's gonna be super. Yeah, which they'll probably change it. They always do. But I love the outfit. I love that the Wakandas came in and they gave him the outfit that he needed because he knows the shields are always, or his wings will always get destroyed. I am excited about Javier Torres
Oh yeah, great.
taking over.
I'm ready for the new Falcon. Yep.
I'm so ready for that. I'm excited. I'm waiting for. I would love to see Bucky finally take on the persona of the White Wolf.
White Wolf.
Down the road, and not just be like, yeah, I'm not just the Winter Soldier. I'm the White Wolf. But the part in that last episode that got me the most was the fact that Bucky was able to apologize to the Asian gentleman that he had killed his son. Such a heartbreaking moment because the first episode deals with that, and it's like he wasn't ready, and then you see that evolution of him getting ready for it, and it's just like, okay, now I'm ready,
Yeah,
and he takes care of it.
That's what I love. Yeah, that's what I love most. I love, and I think that's what I like about Marvel. You know, we talk about that. DC's got the gods. We know it. Superman's a god. They're all god. But what I love about Marvel, and I've told this to my wife before, Marvel is your everyday Joes.
Mm-hmm.
You had Peter Parker, who was the photographer and became Spider-Man. You had Steve, who was the 90-pound wimp that became the super soldier. I love that their flaws make them who they are. And it's not so much a flaw, but that, like I said, that's what makes Steve. They talked about it in the with John, and they talked about it with Carly, and when you take that super soldier serum, it's going to enhance what you are, what your morality is. And that's what I loved about, I guess that's why I've always been a Steve fan from days ago. Again, between him and Superman, probably my favorite of all time, with Spider-Man coming in a quick third. But beautiful setup to the whole show last night. I knew, I knew where it was going. I loved the whole talk with the senators and the GRC. I loved the whole talk with them. And I'm glad that, he said what he said. He's like, it didn't matter if it's a god or a teenager. We're still here where we are. Yeah. And
it's not, like we're dealing with the crazy stuff that's going on right now all over the world. It doesn't matter if it's a 5-year-old, picks up a gun and just goes shoot somebody, or a 75-year-old that goes and just blows something up. We've seen it in Oklahoma. It's the buttons. It is our government that pushes these buttons on us average Joes, and one of these days that average Joe just snaps. All it takes is one average Joe to snap and take whatever they've learned or get people to jump onto their cause and do it. And I love that he turned around and goes, I had to deal with Carly, which was hard enough. You don't want to deal with a 2.0 of her.
Yeah. That was a beautiful set. I mean, what the best written line I think in that was that whole I shouldn't say line, that whole conversation was well thought out, well written, and man, I couldn't have envisioned it any other way. I'm excited.
Like they took it from a comic book at that point. I was like, did Stan write this before you died? I mean, because this was just like, I don't really, I'll admit, I cried during Toy Story 3. We all did. Really don't like get teary-eyed as much, and stuff, because I love actually deciphering photos, movies, and stuff like that. I love The Godfather, like I said. But that was like a Godfather kind of moment. Yeah. Stan just be like, listen, this is it's gotta stop, gotta live together. It felt like a Godfather moment of just like a gut check, and for everybody to just kind of sit back and be like, okay, maybe I need to stop being an idiot. Yeah. Or like I need to stop doing this in my life, and I need to grow up. I think that's why when I went on some of my comic book posts this week or earlier today while we were doing our garage sale, and I was just reading some people, and people were saying oh, the episode was the episode wasn't you just weren't paying attention.
Yeah, you weren't paying attention.
And it's the same thing, like, you know, me being a history major, I always listen to people who are like, oh, I never knew the first 5 presidents were. And it's like, well, you knew, you heard it, you just didn't pay attention. And that's what I love about the show is you have to pay attention to Marvel, because that one subtle, small little detail, you're not going to get it. And then 10 years from now, you'll be like, oh, shit, how the hell did I, you know?
Well, again, what I loved about this show is they did it. I mean, to me, again, they did it right. They made us hate the villain, even though, well, they made, I mean, my wife, every time John Walker stepped on the screen, that's exactly what they want. They wanted you to hate him. He did an excellent job at his thing. I think the one thing, and I know where it's, I mean, we know where it's going with him.
Yeah.
But I still kind of just didn't like the whole buddy thing there at the end for a second. You know, here I am. I fought with you. Now I know what he's doing. We know what he's doing. For people that don't know the comics, they're not going to know what's going on.
And that's why I liked it. That's why I liked it, because it was kind of like a Game of Thrones moment. If you read the books, you just kind of like, oh, I know the Red Wedding's coming, and you don't. But that also comes into the snootiness now, because now you're just kind of like, okay, I know what's coming, and you don't. So when it does happen, you're gonna be like, holy shit, now I hate him more, and be like, I hated him from the beginning, you know. And then they're just gonna be like, oh, you Marvel fans are all snooty. But that's what I love about comics. These shows, these movies, they're trying to get you to go and pick up the book and go read the book. You know, pick up the comics and read them and have fun with them, learn from them. You know. And that's what I absolutely loved about this series. WandaVision, I loved it. I'm excited to see what they do with Loki. That's one of my favorite villain characters. There's Loki, because he's such a that's all I'll just say. He's just a dick. But
he's a dick.
He's funny. You know, he doesn't care. And for Tom Middleton, the way he plays him, awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Wilson's gonna do with the TWA. It's gonna be really, really cool, and I'm excited to see how it goes. I'm kind of disappointed with Disney right now, only for the simple fact we've been an entire year during the pandemic. I get it. You guys want your money for Black Widow. At this point, talk it up.
Yeah.
And give it to us, because you're giving us characters already in these shows that now you're saying, oh, they were supposed to be established in Black Widow.
Black Widow, yeah. We're talking about Val and things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Or nobody knows who her real name is, happens to be Lady Hydra. You know, and so it's just like, come on, just give us Black Widow already. We want to see it. Stop pushing it back. I get it. And even, I love that Scarlett Johansson's even coming out and saying, like, hey, just give them what they want. They want to see it. Just give it. You know,
I'm ready for it.
All right, it's static. I'll be happy. I'll be like, let's do this. You know, I'm excited. Now we got Loki. We can go on further. You know, yeah, I'm excited for that. And no, you're right. It's just John Walker was the person you were supposed to hate. The actor played him correctly. I love it. The girl that played Carly, fantastic.
Beautiful.
And there were times I sided with Carly.
Yeah, you did. She wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong. She went about it wrong, but she wasn't wrong. So.
No, 100%. I mean, that's the thing I love about Marvel characters. It's like when you sit back and you relax and you analyze what they're saying and you hear what they're saying, most of the Marvel villains are not wrong. No. You know, even Thanos is like, yeah, there's way too many people.
Yeah, I agree.
And during this pandemic, I'm just kind of like, dude, oh my God, where's my Infinity Gauntlet?
Where's my snap?
I mean, if I go, I go, but like, let's make the world a better place, you know, and when you read Marvel, most of them aren't wrong. You read Magneto, who happens to, you know, be behind me. Yeah. He's not wrong.
No, he's not wrong.
You know, and that's what I love, you know, villains. For the longest time that we grew up with villains, they were the misread people and everybody hated the villain. But now that we've gotten older and you start to think and you understand what they're coming from, they're not wrong.
They're real people with real issues, and they want them handled. I mean, even Zemo's not wrong.
No,
And
no.
I love Zemo. I love this iteration of Zemo. I think he 100% captures him. So I
Yeah.
love this Zemo, and I'm excited to see where they go with the raft and where they go. So I've got to get going, buddy. I want to do another show. When you get
Yeah.
a chance, let's do it again. This has
Yeah.
been an awesome. I loved it. I love you, man. I love you. I love that we can talk about this. You
I
make
love
my
it
day
too.
better.
Full on. It's great to see you, man.
So it's great to see you too. Let's get another date going. We'll get it set
Yeah.
up. I'd like to make this a regular thing with you and I doing. We can do it whenever we can.
Yeah.
Talk comics. Let's just get it. What do you say?
Yeah. Yeah.
You,
Let's.
you want to
We'll
do
have to do after the draft because my Niners drafting next week.
Yeah,
So I'm
I got you.
excited.
No,
Uh,
let's get together. We'll talk about it. Let's set up a show or some times where we can talk. I'd love to do a regular thing with you. I love this. So it was perfect. So
yeah.
again, thanks for coming on. I love you, man. We'll get
Yeah.
together. We'll do another one. Go do that tech sergeant thing. Be awesome at it. I know you will be.
Thanks, brother.
Say hello to your family,
Well,
and we'll see you around. Okay.
yeah. You too, brother. Thanks for everything, man. And I learned a lot of leadership stuff from you back in the day, and I'm gonna keep using that. And you guys always being there for me, and everybody that's been there. And I love you all. I miss a lot of you guys to death. Yeah, I just can't wait to keep doing. So we'll keep doing this. Maybe next time we'll decipher more of the DC crazy Superman.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I'll try to. I wanted just to see how this one went, but we can work on some script type things and some things like that together, where we want to go with it. But I would love.
I have no problem with that. I'll answer questions all day.
Cool.
I'm not
Cool.
the expert,
Let's.
but I know comic books. I love comic books.
All right, brother. I love you. We'll see you soon, man.
Love you too. Have a good one.
Yep. All right, guys. Man, not a bad show for the first time. What a great talk. It was exactly how I wanted it to go. Angel was an awesome guest. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Man, I just couldn't do it without you guys. I hope y'all learned some things. I need to obviously get some light on my face, as my wife would say. But I hope y'all learned some things tonight. I sure did. So thank you for coming out. If you ever have any questions or you feel like you want to just talk to me about these things, shoot me some messages, or call me, text me, Facebook me, whatever it is. I'm always available 24/7. We can talk about anything all day long. I want to do some more shows. I want to do some different shows. I like where this is going. So thank you, guys. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Remember to take care of each other, love one another, and I'll see you. Love you. Bye.